Hello everybody, welcome back to OC Aviary. For the first time in 2026, we are back here in the bird room after what feels like forever. Now, a lot has changed. We have seen a number of different birds depart that have not made my breeding team. We've seen a number of birds come in for the breeding season. So I'm going to give you a massive update on that all today. We'll go through all the different species I'll be working with for 2026. We'll take a closer look at them and I hope you enjoy. My major passion and most of my experience has always come with native birds, and that's primarily native finches. So of course the main theme here at OC Aviary is the British birds, and that's exactly where we're going to start. Now, from December I began to really start to go through and scrutinise my greenfinch stud. Of course, with the greenfinches, we're developing a stud, a bloodline of birds for exhibition that can compete at the highest level on the show bench. So I had to go through and really, number one, cut down on anything that I didn't think was perhaps quite good enough for what I wanted to see going forward. But two, was also cut down on the quantity and make sure that the quality of birds, although it's a smaller quantity, is absolutely top notch. And that's exactly what I've done. So for 2026, we are only going to have 4 pairs of exhibition greenfinches. But the 4 pairs we've got, if I say so myself, are outstanding. So we've got 2 hens here behind me. These are 2 young hens I bred the past breeding season. One of them is the daughter of my best cockbird, my famous cockbird who's done a lot of winning for me. One of his daughters in here. She is fabulous. She's massive. She's got a great size, great shape, good quality feather, good colour. It's a real shame that the shows had to stop before Christmas, because I think had there been shows in January, she would have done some real damage, as we might say, on the show birds. We also have another hen in there that's sort of related to my line, going back a couple of generations, but she's not an immediate sort of close relative. So she's from an outcross pairing, and she's very nice as well. We go down the far end, actually. We've got my best cockbird and his son at the top. We've then got the grandson of my best cockbird, and then an unrelated cockbird. So we've got, a decent quality and genetic representation of my best bird there. We have it in one of the hens here, and then down here below we have another outcross hen that is actually the mother to the other outcross, and then the daughter from 2024 of my best cockbird again. So we've got a nice genetic representation there that's going to allow us to develop a good quality exhibition strain of greenfinches. We're not breeding them at all closely related, and some of them not related at all. So that's going to make sure that we've got a really healthy stock, and we're also keeping that concentration of genes there to hopefully, all going well, fingers crossed, produce some really good quality chicks come the end of the summer. It's a very similar story for my lesser red polls. I've been working on my lesser red poll strain for about 5 or 6 years now with the same bloodline, same as the greenfinches actually in time length, and they are looking really quite nice as well. So again, cut down this year, gone through, scrutinised, looked at what I think's the best, what's got the correct shape, the colour, the markings on them, what's got all of the different traits and features that I want to have in my exhibition birds, and that's what I've cut down to. So 4 pairs of lesser red polls for this spring. I think the hens are better than the cockbirds personally. We have a hen in there that's from an outcross. I had her last breeding season, and we bred a young hen who's in there and a young cockbird off her. She's a really sort of nice size lesser red poll, good shape to her. The markings are great. The colour's not quite there, but that's okay because we compare her to one of the cockbirds that is good colour. They are looking really good. They're built off of, I think it's 5 bloodlines that I assembled about 4 years ago. They've all accumulated now into a single bird, which is nice. So we've got a really good representation there of birds that are not really closely related. They might have a common ancestor 4 or 5 generations ago, but they're looking really good. And it's the same for the cockbirds, to be honest. I think the cockbirds Actually, 3 of them are young birds are bred last year. So difficult to tell the colour right now because they're not going to get that full red flush on their chest as you'd expect to see in an Aviary or a flighted redpoll. But they're looking really nice as well, and I'm hoping that with that, 4 pairs of lesser redpolls for exhibition, 4 pairs of greenfinches for exhibition, that leaves me in a good place going into certainly the breeding season that will produce some really good quality young. But then hopefully come the winter we'll have some really good quality young birds to actually show around the country, and I am really impressed with them and really pleased with them. I know a lot of you guys have really enjoyed seeing my experience with the European hawfinches over the past couple of years, and I've honestly really enjoyed having them. So as you can see here, this is my pair for 2026. The original pair I had last year and the year before, they bred for me last year successfully. They reared a single cockbird, and this is the cockbird in the pairing. He looks absolutely fabulous. I am so pleased with him. The colour of him is really good. He's got a good bib. He's actually in breeding condition now, believe it or not. He's got a lovely slate blue beak, and that will get even darker as he comes into further breeding condition as the light hours increase and the protein levels increase in his diet. And then what I've got in there is a young hen for him from a friend of mine who breeds quite a few hawfinches. Quite a few is a relative term. It's not quite a few like you might breed quite a few greenfinches or redpolls. It's quite a few as in you've got more than 1 or 2. So it's worked quite well there. We've got a nice 2025 bred pair for this year. So both inexperienced birds. The original parent birds have gone back to that friend and we brought in the hen. So looking very nice. They're in good condition. Actually, when I've had the windows open in the bird room, I've been hearing early in the morning the male bird sat there singing out of the window and really loving that. So they're looking really quite nice at the moment. I do think it's probably going to be a later summer job in breeding these. They're not something that's going to go down in April. I personally think because it's a young hen, it'll probably be June or July. And I mean, they might go a couple of clutches. They do go 3, maybe even 4 clutches in captivity. I've never had them go more than 2 personally, but whatever it is a bonus. I'm just really hoping we can breed off them this year. Coming here to the outdoor aviaries then, you might remember this is where last year we had a single pair of bearded tits in a 10-foot long aviary. There was a stream in there, it was planted, and we bred 6 youngsters, and that worked ever so well. I absolutely loved having them, and to be honest with you, after having them and breeding them and having the experience so good that I've had with them, I just regret not getting them earlier. Why did I not get them 5 years ago? Because they've been nothing but a real pleasure to keep. The only thing is, there has been 2 major issues, and that is why the aviary is no longer 1 big planted flight, but 5 aviaries singled off now. So the first thing was the cleanliness. During the breeding season, it was lovely to see them interacting with their environment, having loads of space in there, all the bamboo growing, all the shrubs growing, the stream going. The problem was, quite simply, and this makes sense from a bird behaviour point of view, right, is that you had the parent birds taking the fecal sacs from the chicks and dropping them in the stream. Now, the reason they do that is the scent. They don't want to attract predators or anything to the nest, so they put them somewhere out of the way so it detracts predators. And actually, putting them in water, you pretty much lose that smell. The problem is, in an aviary environment, there is no predators. They put them in the water, and it just makes it really quite foul. So even though I was cleaning the water every day, you still have a pump in there that could get pooed up. You have a pipe in there that will get manged up with a load of crap that's come from the birds and all sorts of stuff that they drop in the water. And it just made the maintenance of the aviary was really quite challenging. So I decided to change that for this year. Number 2 was, because I've enjoyed them so much, I wanted more than 1 pair. And you can, outside of the breeding season, have them together as a community and it works fine. That was what my experience was. But in December or early January, the cockbirds that I bred last year and their father started to get aggressive towards each other because they just started to mature enough that they saw each other as competition. So we had to separate them. I moved all the young cockbirds into the bird room, but then decided they don't really want to be in cages in there, even though they're large cages. they want to be in planted aviaries. So I've put the dividers in. We've got 5 separate aviaries, and these first 4 have all got a pair of bearded tits in each. We've got the original pair that fathered and produced all the chicks last year, and then in here we have each pair has a young bird that I bred last year, so from that original pair, and then each pair also has a completely unrelated pairing, partner in there. And what's ideal is that there's actually 4 distinct bloodlines in here now. You've got the bloodline of the originals, you've got the bloodline of the offspring, which is the same, and then we have birds that are from their own distinct groups. So, that male is not related to that male, and it's worked really nicely because it means that the offspring that we're going to produce are going to be really genetically healthy. They're going to have that vigour that you'd want to see in those, let's call them outbred birds rather than inbred birds or closely related birds. They're going to be really healthy, and then it also means that come the end of the season, all going well, I'll be able to make up some semi or completely unrelated pairings, which will be really quite nice. So we've got 4 pairs of bearded tits in here. Believe it or not, actually, I put the nest sites in at the beginning of March. The original pair, last I checked, are sat on 3 eggs, and they laid that 3rd egg that day, so there's probably 5, 6, maybe even 7 eggs in there now. The other pairs have all built nests but have not yet laid, and they are early breeders and they'll continue to breed. I mean, mine didn't stop breeding until September, so they will breed for a very prolonged period of time. And then we have the final aviary down here at the end. Now you might be able to hear the birds fluttering about in there. They're a little bit nervous. It's the nature of this sort of bird. In there, we have a pair of yellow hammers. Now, these are 2024 bred birds. I've got them on loan from a good friend of mine for the breeding season. He just didn't have room for them. He bred them in 2024. He's been breeding the same line of yellow hammers for, I think, 25 or 30 years now. So they're off of his bloodline. Absolutely stunning pair, a little bit nervous. It's what happens with yellow hammers. They've got a planted aviary in there with a bit of bamboo. No nest sites yet because it's too early for them, but they are looking really quite good. And actually, I have made a handmade nest site that I've popped in at the back, but no interest in that yet. I wouldn't expect there to be. One of the things with yellow hammers, they do this in the wild, but particularly in captivity, we see it as almost a complete trend with them, is that they do nest either on the floor or within 3 to 4 feet of the floor. They're not a bird that you'll put a nest site 5, 6, 7 feet up off the floor and they'll nest in that. They'll go down lower down. So they've been carrying a little bit of straw in there because I've put some straw around the bottom of the bamboo. But other than that, they're looking really good. They're taking a lot of live food. I expect they will breed probably May, so we're probably 2 months off from them breeding, but they're doing well. The male bird has just started to sing, so you can hear that famous little bit of bread with no cheese song, and they are stunning. But I put them down at the end just because it's the path of least traffic. I only have to come down to the end here to feed and water them and just let them have their own bit of privacy. It works really quite nicely. I do have something in this aviary as well. That's something I'm not going to show you just yet, but you haven't seen them on the channel before. It's a species I have not kept before at all. I actually only picked them up a couple of weeks ago from a friend of mine that bred them, but we'll cover those in a separate video, but I'm really excited to have them on board. So that is the native bird side of things covered for what's going to be actually here for 2026. Now, of course, we do have the twites and all the other things that we're going to go over to see in a second. But I thought before we go there, we'll check out just a couple of the exotic bird species I've got, because we've brought a couple in over the past couple of months as little features, things for me to enjoy, things that I've probably either had in the past and not had the success I wanted, or something completely new because why not? It's quite good fun. So let's have a look at those now. You might remember after the national exhibition in October, I brought a couple of different pairs of birds in that I introduced to you all that we'd either not had before or had not kept in a very long time. And one of them was a pair of Gouldian finches. So these are an Australian finch species, absolutely gorgeous. The fact that they even exist is surprising. I remember seeing them when I was a kid, a photo of them on a laptop and thinking, oh my gosh, how is that real? And they are real because they're here in the flesh right now. So we had a a pair of Gouldian finches from a very good friend of mine who breeds some fantastic quality exhibition Gouldians here in the UK. We brought them back, and everything seemed fine for the most part. That was until the hen never really seemed to recover from transport. It seems that the Gouldians are a little bit sensitive at times. So I'd had her for 2 or 3 months, and then sadly her condition declined and she passed away. So I was left with a very, very good quality cockbird that I obviously wanted to breed from and have here to enjoy. Then, not that long after the hen passed away, I had an opportunity. The same friend had 2 spare Gouldian finch hens, and of course I couldn't say no. They were exhibition quality birds, very good quality birds. They complement my cockbird nicely, so why would I not give them a go? And that's exactly what we've done. So I've brought in, just over a month ago now, maybe a couple of weeks ago, something like that. It was back in February. I brought in 2 Gouldian finch hens. We have a black-headed, white-chested hen and a cinnamon purple-breasted, like normal hen. They're looking really good. I've actually given them a 6-foot-long cage now. They've got a heater at the back. I've put one of the UVB Pro T5 bulbs from Planet Aviary in there as well, so they've got a bit of lighting in there as well that's a bit more intense for the UVB exposure. And I've put 3 nest sites in there. And actually, I've just found out, literally yesterday, the cinnamon hen has gone in one of the nest sites. So I had a new nest site come from Aviary a very natural style whole nest site for the Gouldians. Popped that in there, propped it up on some bricks so it's up off the floor, and there is 2 or 3 eggs in there at the moment. The cinnamon hen's laid them. She was on them this morning. So we're breeding Gouldian finches, guys. Last time I tried to breed them, we had clear eggs about 7 years ago because they nested outside in December, and then we never had any since. But we have eggs in there, so hopefully they're full. You know, there should be some really nice, good quality chicks. But they're looking really well. They're eating well. They're starting to breed. There's material in all of the nest sites. They're constantly exploring the nest sites. So fingers crossed, we'll have some Gouldian chicks soon. Down in the flight cages, we have a couple of different things that, I mean, some of them I've had previously and some I haven't. So first off in here, we've got a pair of diamond doves there. I think the red or cinnamon mutation, something like that. They've not done anything for me in about 3 months now, but again, it's winter, they're not going to. But they have started to build a nest more recently, and I did have a no sort of shell-less egg from them a couple of weeks back, but they're doing well. And then I do also have a pair of blue ground doves, which are a species from the sort of Central America. Really, really nice species of dove that are in there at the moment. There's actually a diamond dove in with them as well. But absolutely gorgeous species, and fingers crossed we can breed them this upcoming spring. I don't think many of us think canaries as exotics, but I guess they technically are. So behind me, I actually just have 2 pairs of Irish fancy canaries this year. I loved having the frilled canaries, but to be honest with you, they were really good quality birds that needed more time, deserved more time and concentration on them. And I just couldn't provide that with all the native birds I've got going on, as they're like my major priority, of course. So I've got 2 pairs of Irish. Really actually quite nice, good quality Irish canaries. They're going to be ideal mainly as a backup parent for the twites. So if we have any problems with twites breeding this year, rearing their own young, then their young will be going under the canaries. So 2 pairs of Irish canaries this year. Very nice birds, and we'll see those occasionally on the channel, of course. And then something you've never seen on the channel before, and I haven't really even been showing on social media, is this. You've never seen this before. It looks horrendous at the moment because we're having awful weather in the UK. We are due a storm overnight, so we've got the big cover over there, we've got ropes around it, tying it all down, ratchet straps down, and you know, I'll be taking the cover off come the spring when it's warmed up a little bit, putting a bit of a false roof over there, something so we can enjoy the birds a bit more. But in here is 2 exotic bird species, things that I've not had before. I've had similar. Number 1, if you've ever been on holiday to the Mediterranean or the Canary Islands, you've probably seen these, is laughing doves. So Senegal laughing doves, or just laughing doves. You'll often see them around. I mean, I've seen them in the Canary Islands. Absolutely lovely species of doves. So we've got a pair of them in there. It's a normal cockbird and a slightly pied hen. Very, very nice though. And then the main thing this was actually built for is, believe it or not, there is a pair of pheasants in there. There is a pair of 5,000 series golden pheasants. Now, that won't mean a lot to people who haven't kept pheasants before, but if you're anything familiar with pheasants, you'll probably know that in most private aviculture, or one of the common pheasants you're going to see is golden pheasants, right? But the problem is that most of the golden pheasants are not purebred. They've got Amherst in them, they've got common or ringneck pheasant in them. They've been in captivity for thousands of years, some of them, right? The 5,000 series are a World Pheasant Association-led pedigree species of pheasant. So they have pedigrees with them, you have paperwork with them, they've got closed rings on them, the breeders are all registered of them. These are purebred, proper golden pheasants. They are stunning. We have a very, very nice hen bird in there, and the cock bird is colouring up. He's getting better week on week. He's really coming into himself. But they are only a young pair, bred last year in 2025. Will they breed this year? I think so. From what I've been told, I do think they will. Actually, if that will come to fruition, I'm not sure yet, but they're looking really well. We've got them in this polytunnel aviary for the moment, and all going well. As soon as the weather improves a little bit, we'll actually be able to get the cover off and enjoy them. Of course, we also are down here at the conservation aviaries, where we've got some of the UK's rarest birds for breeding this spring. Of course, it is the beginning of March, and in here I have approximately 40 twites, so I'm really hoping, fingers crossed anyway, that will equate to approximately 20 pairs of them for the upcoming breeding season. If we have a good season, we should see numbers well up towards the 100 mark, which would be absolutely amazing, and they're in fine voice as well, as you can probably hear. That's always one of the ways to tell how good of a condition and how good health your birds are in, is if they're making a lot of noise, it means that they're happy and they're healthy, and the twites certainly are just that. Now, twites are a granivorous species. They primarily eat seeds. Occasionally they do show interest in insects, but it's usually only when rearing their young for the first couple of days of life. So at the moment, I've got all of my twites on 2 different seed mixes. Number 1 is a standard British finch mix. They seem to really like those, I'm going to call them medium-sized seeds. They're not a bird that want the tiny little redpoll type seeds. They're not a bird that wants the really big seeds, something like a hawfinch or a greenfinch would like. They like those medium sizes. What does also work for them, and kind of contradicts my previous statement, is a siskin mix. This is a bit more of a leaner mix. It's not got many fattening seeds in it at all, and that really brings them into condition. It's very similar to what they would feed on in the wild, and that has helped my twites remain in fantastic health, but also a really healthy weight. We've barely lost any birds over the winter, which is an inevitable thing. You will inevitably lose some birds over the winter, and they are looking fantastic. Now, something I do offer them as an additional treat is millet sprays. It really helps give them that activity, that exercise, and that natural foraging techniques that they would be doing in the wild. So a combination of those 3 things almost regularly on tap has worked exceptionally well for them. I am also giving them a couple of different things to condition them. They are getting a bit of a conditioning seed, which is the Haith's conditioner and the Cracotonic. I'm also giving them the Your Parrot Egg Food Gold. They absolutely love the stuff. I can't keep up with how much they're eating at the moment, and that is getting them in great condition as well as the protein levels build up. I'm also giving them a bit of a calcium supplement, sprinkling it over their seed and their soft food to build up the calcium supplies in the medullary bone, so when the hens are laying their eggs, they're never going to be short. The final thing I'm offering them is heather flower. I've bought some heather flower from a herbal tea company, and it's literally just like the chopped stuff from the heather in the summer. Put that in for them, and that's as natural as it's going to get. The twites are moorland birds. They feed on that constantly. Therefore, replicating nature as much as possible has worked ever so well. So I run the twites as a colony over the winter. That is naturally how twites would behave, congregating in groups of hundreds, if not thousands, on the coasts in the UK. Now, they're not the only thing to inhabit the conservation aviaries. Of course, having them all in one big aviary means that all of these have been spare, and it is going to also be that case for the breeding season. So, for this breeding season, at the moment, I have 2 pairs of European turtle doves. They are absolutely stunning. I've loved keeping them over the past year. We've brought another young pair in this winter, and I'm hoping there's an opportunity for a 3rd pair. So 3 pairs of turtle doves for the upcoming season would be fantastic, and it'd be really nice to get a couple of squabs out of them, and that'll be the first time I've ever successfully bred turtle doves. If we think back to last year, we did have a little bit of success with them. They did go to nest, but sadly the hen laid her single and only egg of the season off the perch, which cracked on the floor. So fingers crossed it will be more successful this year. There is these 7 aviaries behind me. You can see it with the external feeders on, but these aviaries are inhabited by a species I just can't show you yet. You are going to see them soon, and I guarantee that will be for this breeding season. But right now, they're hidden away. I'm keeping them quiet just for the moment, but I bet none of you can guess what they are, and they are absolutely awesome. The final pair of birds I have down here, which in all honesty isn't ideal. They need to be outside in a pen in the fresh air, scratting amongst the dirt and the grass, but sadly just haven't been able to get them outside yet. Of course, avian flu has been a big issue in the UK, and I cannot take any risks. I will not have any of my birds outside at the moment. So we've had them inside over the winter since we picked them up in October, and in all honesty, they seem to be doing really quite well. They have settled down, and actually, they're really quite tame. We have a pair of northern lapwings. Now, I'm hoping to get a couple more pairs of them at the end of the summer once everybody has bred their stock. But for the moment, we have 1 pair for the spring. They're doing exceptionally well. They eat pretty much anything you put in for them as well. So we've got some Micro-Lundy small duckling pellets in there. They're doing really well on those. They've got a Uni-Petit soft-bill mix, which is going down extremely fast. And they also get a big variety of insects. So I'm giving them on tap mealworms that I gut load with kale and spinach. I'm also giving them calci worms, which are really building up the calcium stores in the female, as I anticipate she might even lay eggs in the next 4 to 6 weeks and go to nest. She's in fantastic condition. And finally, dendrobina worms. These are basically a captive version of the earthworm that are free from parasites and much better to feed them than wild earthworms. So they're getting a big mix of things in there. Of course, they've got access to loads of water, so they've got a larger, sort of deeper tray that's about 2 or 3 inches deep in there of water. They go in there, they have a really good bath, and they enjoy wading through there as they are wading birds. They also have a shallower tray, which is about 3/4 of an inch deep, and I see the pair of them bathing in there very regularly as well. Now, I'm no expert when it comes to wading birds. My experience is primarily in passerines, and European British passerines at that. But what I've looked to do, and I've gone to the experts for this, friends over at WWT and various private breeders, is look for advice and ask how we can best do things. So whilst I've got them in here, they have got a partially tiled floor. Now the tiles are rough tiles. I do not need them slipping and splaying their legs. That would really not be ideal and would not be fair on the bird. So they've got some rough tiles on the floor for ease of cleaning. That is really helping keep that a nice disinfected area. And then along the back, they have got a good layer of sand, approximately a 2-inch bed of bird sand, and that's working really well for them. They're in great condition. They've had that over the past couple of months. Their health is looking really quite good. I'm genuinely impressed. The cock bird is In good condition for sure. I'd say his feather quality is slightly down, probably from the fact that he's been indoors rather than outside. Although when I say indoors, the only thing he's been sheltered from is the weather. It gets very cold in here when it is cold and when it's snowing outside, but they just don't get the rain or the wind on them. But they're looking great, they're eating very well, and fingers crossed we might be able to breed some northern lapwings this breeding season. Something I'm keen to show you, which I have taken inspiration and knowledge from a lot of colleagues who work in the professional aviculture side, the zoo world, is just how I can better manage the birds to ensure that they are in the absolute best of health and we are just providing them the best environment possible. So I've done two things over the winter. I've changed, and I can't believe I never did this before. The first thing is I've replaced the substrate on the floor. Previously, I had wood chips on the floor, and this works really well. The problem I was having is that by housing the twites as a flock, I was having to give them a fairly large quantity of water to bath in every single day. And as a result, it gets the wood chips wet that can then rot, decay, and cause something called aspergillus, which is a fungal spore that can then get into the birds and make them ill. Therefore, what I did to basically fix this problem is take the wood chip out and replace it with sand. The sand is inorganic, it is not going to decay, and since doing that, we've got absolutely no problems with this whatsoever, because occasionally, particularly when it's snowed, we do get a bit of condensation that can come down and leak and drip onto the floors. So that's worked really well. The second thing I've done is lift the baths off the floor. You can see I've put them on a small plastic picnic table. I've then put the baths inside some large industrial plastic trays, and then in there are actually the sources of water. So that is keeping the floor dry, that is stopping it from rotting, that is stopping any chances of disease spreading on the floor or any problems whatsoever. And since doing that, the birds, as you can hear, are in fine fettle. So there you have it, everyone. That is exactly where we're at the moment here at OC Aviary. You know, it's early March, the weather is not great, it's probably going to still be pretty dull over the next couple of weeks, but come April, that is when the birds will really start to liven up. I intend on pairing up come mid-April. I think the green finches, they're certainly carrying a little bit more weight than ideal at the moment, so we're going to have to cut that down on them. Same for the red poles. Of course, the doves and the pheasants are probably going to breed anyway. The hawfinches might be a bit later. I think it's going to be mid-April by the time everything starts to come up to breed. I think the same for the twites. I think it's probably going to be May before they breed. Maybe the turtle doves might start very, very shortly. We'll see. But it's going to be really quite a full-on breeding season here, and I'm working on developing a whole new place for a lot of really, really cool birds. So I'll keep you updated with that as it goes ahead into the future, but it is going to be fantastic. It's going to be, you know, a lot of UK species, conservation-related species. Really, really cool, exciting things. So if you'd like to see that and more from OC Aviary going into this breeding season, then please make sure to subscribe down below, smash a like on this video, and check us out on social media, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok for daily updates and behind-the-scenes footage of all of my birds. So thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.